Welcome to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast, powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined, with your host, the one and only Betsy Tinnervin. On this podcast, we bring you people who share their personal journeys in life, business, and of course, real estate. Get motivated, inspired, and priceless information from entrepreneurs, community leaders, and realtors who are thriving. Now let's get raw and real. Here's Betsy.
Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinnervin. And as always, we are powered by LPT Realty. And we'd like to thank Robert Palmer, the executive team, and everyone at LPT Realty that makes this possible. Today, we have an extra special show for everyone out there listening. Normally, we have a couple agents and we have a guest. And so since it's Memorial Day, we're giving all of our agents a break. And we brought in an amazing marketing and branding company. And so they are going to talk about the raw and real of life, business, and of course, real estate as it applies to marketing and branding. So today I have Jose Vega with 11 Branding. He is local in Tampa. They actually just hit a milestone of over $50 million in brands. Some of the brands that they do work with that do not have an NDA that I can mention are Walmart, Royal Palms, and Tony Gaskins. So how are you doing, Mr. Vega?
Doing great. We're doing wonderful. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, that's so awesome that you could be on the show and really give just tons of like tips and tricks and gems about marketing. I think that in today's world, we went through COVID. We had a bunch of virtual things going on. As we know, the power of the internet is crazy. Right. And so we're going to give you guys some awesome tips and tricks today. And I'm going to give you a little like tidbit of what we're going to talk about. We're actually going to talk about just why a personal brand is important in segment one, and Vegas is going to walk through a lot of things that he's seen in the industry and then things that he does that kind of sets himself apart. In segment two, we're really going to talk about not just having a visual identity, but having a verbal identity and then a value-based identity in your marketing as well. And then in segment three, we're going to dive deep into like distribution of content, what you guys can do with a small budget or a large budget to really generate leads and get a call to action, get set appointments and leads generated through social media. And in segment four, we're going to talk about consistency, building brands for longevity. I love it when Vega said that to me prior to the show. I think that's really important. And then also just how you can build a community that doesn't have to be 1 million people and still be successful. So Vega, I really just want to start with, of course, I'm sure everyone else wants to know too, where did 11 Branding come from?
Well, I guess we can start with the name, right?
Yeah, the name.
11 Branding. 11 was a number that's always stuck out to me. I was born on June 11, so my birthday's coming up soon. And it was just a number that, again, I always love that number, but I wanted to do something more with brand, right? I'm telling everybody you need to build something that's unique, something that, is like no other. So it was natural for us to pick 11 Branding because it stands for don't just be another brand, be one of one.
I love one of one. I want to be one of one.
Okay, that's what we're here for, right?
That's awesome. And so what do you love about marketing? Like, what is your passion? Just like a little bit about yourself.
Well, I love branding. Right. So a lot of people in marketing brand, there's a fine line between the two. And a lot of people, don't understand what that difference is. And what I love about branding is I tell everyone branding is your story. Marketing is how you tell that story. Right. And I love telling stories, growing up in the areas where we grow up and just coming from different backgrounds and being fortunate enough to work with so many different personal brands now and everyone having their own unique story. That's what I love most. It's something that we talk about, but now it's my job to help you conceptualize something that you can see, touch, feel.
I also think storytelling interviews are so cool. Yeah. Because let's take real estate for an example. I re-looked up the realtor stats. So for all of my realtors looking and listening today, basically we have 218,906 realtors in Florida. Wow. So that's a lot of agents. And we actually have more agents in Florida than any other state in the U.S. So really, in reality, if you're trying to build a brand or stand out, it has to become personal because how else do you make yourself authentic?
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of industries where there's, tons of people joining every day, and just like real estate. But there's a reason why people keep joining it, right? There's a lot of potential in it. And I always tell everybody, if you feel like your industry is super saturated, go to the supermarket, go to a bread aisle, or go to the toilet paper aisle. There's tons of brands that never stop them. People have been using these items for a long time. People have been using realtors. They're going to continue to use realtors. So it's all about how you differentiate yourself and the experience that you give. Stop focusing on what your brand looks like and start focusing on what your brand feels like to people.
And I also think like the experience is important, right? Mm-hmm. So in segment 1, we really wanted to talk about how you establish your brand and just being authentic, and then like why it's important to do like a personal brand. So I think the bread aisle is a really good example that people don't think about, right? You walk down the bread aisle and they don't just stop producing bread, or a new brand doesn't come out. Now we have gluten-free and wheat-free, and some of them have a blue sticker and a red sticker. But I mean, let's be real. The first bread that comes to mind is Wonder Bread.
Yeah.
Does it come to your mind?
Yeah. I forget what's the other one too. It must be Wonder Bread, because I don't buy the Wonder Bread, but I don't even remember the name of the one that I buy. It's like Nature's Own. That's the one. That's what I see. What I mean? Like, I don't buy Wonder Bread either, but when I think bread, I think Wonder Bread. And like sometimes people have to think, why do they think that, right? So I really want you to talk to them about why it's important to do a personal brand, especially in the real estate industry. Right. Especially in the real estate industry, it's important in every industry to build a personal brand. But especially in the real estate industry, because it's a people building people business, right? People buy into you, your story, before they buy into the product or service. So the service that you're offering is selling them a home. If I don't trust in you, if I don't like you, I'm not going to, you could be the best realtor, but if I don't feel comfortable with you, I'm not going to want to go there. So it's important as a personal brand for that reason, because people are buying into you first. They need to trust you. And then the second reason is because building up your personal brand, it allows you a pivot at any moment, right? Some people come into real estate and that's not their final vehicle. They maybe want to be a broker one day, or they want to go pivot and do something else. It's if you always just build a brand based off of the company that you're currently with, or, you allow them to brand you only, you never do anything for yourself or for your personal brand, it's almost impossible to pivot. No one knows you. They don't know the face. They attach you with something else. So the second you stop or try something new, you have to start from scratch. Building a personal brand allows you to leverage that for anything that you want to do in the future. And what did you say about LPT? You gave LPT a pretty good compliment. I gave them a pretty good shout out. I mean, one thing that stood out to me the most, I work a lot with athletes. So a lot of them, retired athletes, NFL, NBA, they go, okay, what do I do? Let me leverage this personal brand that I have to jump into real estate. They can leverage their face that they already have. But when people are coming in new, they don't really have that same leverage. So what stood out to me about LPT is, like, they're hooking you guys up. They give you the box with all the custom marketing materials and all this stuff. It has you looking like the pros, and essentially if you look like a pro, you start to feel like one, you start to move like one, build that brand, you're going to get the results of one. So major shout out to them for making sure they're hooking you guys up with all that marketing material. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's cool just coming from a marketing and branding expert, someone who is creating brands and helping people really showcase their personal brands, that you recognize what LPT does, because really with the listing power pack, you get 168 pieces of marketing material custom to yourself. Now we've come out with the magazines. Yeah. And on the magazines, it has each agent's face. So they are already looked at as that expert. And so if you guys are interested, you can actually go to my website, which is freemarketingforrealtors.com. If you're interested in more on LPT, what we do for agents, what LPT does marketing wise for agents, we have all of that there. But I think the other thing that we wanted to discuss just a little bit before we go into segment 2, which I think you touched on a little bit about the athletes, but go a little deeper into that. Like we were talking downstairs about why it's super, super important to just show how you're authentic, who you are. And I know later we're going to talk about not using your face, but you might want to touch on that a little bit too. Yeah, I think that's the best approach for any brand, right? Too many times we focus on every other brand that we see out there, right? We look at the top realtors that are in our area right now and say, oh, how can we be just like them? How can I drop a video like Betsy? How can I, show a house like this person? How can I appear like this on Instagram? And it's like, that's not your market. They're selling to their market. So really just being as genuine as you are, that's how you're going to find your market. If you're finding yourself in a position where it's hard for you to find the clientele that you're looking for, it's hard for you to make those sales, it's most likely because you're talking to the wrong people and they can feel it. So it's important to really find, we're going to get into that when we start talking about the 3 V's, but this kind of just gives you a little sneak peek into what's called the verbal identity. And that really just lays out the foundation truly for who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. I always like to speak in like analogies and kind of giving reference so it's easier to understand. It's the reason why memes go viral. You ever seen a meme and you just like,
100%.
Oh my God, I love this. It's speaking to me, right? The person didn't make it and say, how am I going to make people laugh? They made it speaking to themselves, something they found funny. And when you put something out natural and genuine like that you speak to yourself or a specific audience, they're going to find it. And that's essentially what effective branding is. You just speak to yourself, speak to what you represent and who you think it's for. And sometimes, a lot of the times, it's not who you think it's for, but your audience will find you.
And I think it's the value. I think your audience finds you based on the value you provide.
Right.
Like our listeners out there today, we're going to definitely give you some value. So in segment 2, we're going to talk about the 3 V's, right? Visual identity, verbal identity, and value-based identity. And I'm really going to have Vega dive deep. So if you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or especially a real estate agent, we're going to dive deep with you on not just being visual and actually how you can do things in the marketing and branding realm that have nothing to do with showing your face. We have so many people that are like, oh my gosh, I can't make reels, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. However, you can, and you don't have to show your face while doing it. We're actually going to remind you of a couple brands that do that all the time. They do a lot of marketing. They have a lot of authenticity that they show through their marketing pieces and their brand and their personal brand, and they never show their face. So, Vega, if someone wants to get in touch with you, could you please give them your cell phone number?
Yes. My cell phone number is 727-810-5454. Again, that's 727-810-5454. We are here locally in downtown Tampa.
We are going to take a quick commercial break. You are not going to want to miss segments 2, 3, and 4, and we will be right back.
The best comp plans ever in stock and revenue share, but if we're not closing real estate transactions, all of that is worthless, because ultimately everything starts with a real estate transaction, which starts with a consumer. And so we wanted to arm our agents with the absolute best technology and best marketing tools to do more real estate. And that's, again, I think a big differentiator. I think very few brokerages really sit down and say, how do we provide tools to make sure that our agents can be more productive, sell more real estate, win more listings, win at more listing appointments, help more buyers find that home. And we're very focused on that. And so while we have the best comp plans and the best ways for agents to generate wealth and earn, we also have the best tools, and more importantly, I would say have the best tools to help you be successful in real estate.
Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinnervin. Happy to be here with you today. So excited that all of our religious listeners continue to listen every single weekend. I'm with the Sunshine State Investments team. And again, LPT Realty. We love our LPT. This show is hosted and sponsored by them. So today we have a special treat for everyone out there. Normally, we're speaking to a couple agents and a guest, and we're kind of going deep into different pieces. We are still bringing you today the raw and real of life, business, and of course, real estate. But all we're focused on today is marketing, branding, and we have Vega here. Jose Vega, but we all call him Vega. So you can too, who is with 11 Branding, and they do over $50 million worth of brands. And so we really wanted to give something to the LPT agents out there, to realtors out there, to small business owners, to entrepreneurs of how you can really build a personal brand. And so the only person that I thought of to do that would be Jose Vega, as he has mastered his craft. So we talked a little bit in segment 1 about his company, who he is. Now in segment 2, we're going to talk about the 3 V's: visual identity, verbal identity, and value-based identity. If you did miss segment 1, you can go to our Facebook page, the LPT All-Star Radio Show, and all of our segments are on there, as well as posted on our YouTube channel. So Vega, you said marketing and branding does not have to be visual, but no one thinks that.
So it does have to be visual, but what no one ever thinks about is when I ask somebody about branding, right? What do you think is the first thing they say? Well, it's some pretty colors, a logo. Oh, you do that stuff, right? And it's like, yes, but that's the smallest portion, right? It's like when you start with visual identity first, like what things look like, the little color stamps on your videos, your captions, little logos, things like that. It's like you're creating a package, just the packaging for the product without creating the product first. It's like, how do you know the package is the right size? How do you know it's the right colors? The right information is on there if you're starting building a package before you build the product. Visual identity is one of the last ones that I tell everyone they need to focus on. And this is why I get excited about those 3 V's, because a lot of people don't even know the other 2 exist, right?
Well, they always want to start with a logo.
Yeah.
They always want to say, what's my logo? What's my logo? So why do you think that's not what someone should start with?
I think it's not what they should start with, because you don't even know who you're speaking to first. The first question you need to ask yourself, or the 3 questions, is who am I? What exactly am I doing? What am I offering? Like, even if you're a real estate agent, yes, we know you're offering, you're selling homes, right? Or you're helping someone purchase a home. But get specific. What kind of homes? Who is your target audience? Like, are you doing luxury homes? Are you doing multifamilies? Are you looking at investment properties? Like, really get specific with that question. Who am I? What am I doing? And who am I doing it for? Because even when, like, people ask, well, why do I need to know that to create a logo? Well, how do you know your logo is going to appeal to a certain person? Right? You're saying you want to go high class, you want to do luxury or high-end investment properties, but then your logo looks, I don't know.
Low class?
Low class. I didn't want to throw them under the bus like that. Not necessarily low class, but it doesn't attract to that.
It doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good. You're saying high class, but then you're like, okay, I'm going to jump on Fiverr real quick, and you have a logo that looks like everyone else. Nothing's unique. That's why I always tell them, ask that question first and jump into your verbal identity, which is where we can start off.
I think that what's really crazy is all of the brands and all of the things that we see. Obviously one that comes to mind is like Nike, just do it. Nike speaks to people. I feel like there's a motivational piece in that. There's an inspirational piece in that. So what do you think when you think about Nike? You think just do it. Yeah. And I also think like the slogans are important. Our team slogan is the experience is our job. Right. We feel like whether you're buying an investment property or a home, that it's about the experience, not the process. And so I think that that's super important. Do you guys have a slogan?
A slogan for us?
Yeah.
It's be one of one.
Yeah, I love that. And so if you're one of one, like, what does that mean? Break that down, because we talked about it a little bit in segment 1, but what does that mean?
Well, a small part of our mission statement is our mission is to provide the perfect product of expression, building personal and unique brands, right? So that's just a small portion on top. And it's because that's truly what our mission is. It's whatever your brand is, whatever your product is, whatever you're coming to us for, our mission is to create that perfect product of expression, letting people know exactly what that brand is about. I'm glad you use Nike. That's one of my favorite companies that I look at for reference all the time. Is when you mentioned Nike right now, you didn't mention the iconic orange color or their box typography of the white letters that spell out Nike, or even the swoosh. You mentioned just do it, right? And everything they put out is based off of that. And that just do it comes from their verbal identity first. And it's the experience. They focus on experiential marketing. It's like, what do you feel? What do you see when you're thinking of Nike?
What do you feel when you think of Nike, Vega?
I feel like I'm ready to go run a marathon. Like,
I
can just accomplish anything, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's motivational.
But then I also think of like my background, where I come from, right? Sneaker culture and like, things like that. Like Nike has so many different communities that has built within it, right? Like their audiences have built their own little niche, sneakerheads or athletes or, just all different type of things that happen. That's when you do effective branding, is when you're able, and we'll get into the longevity of brands, but when you're able to build community around it and you speak to someone, you have an actual message, that's what builds relevance. And no one's starting off with, hey, Nike's orange with a swoosh. They start off with Nike's just do it.
Well, and the cool thing about LPT is that they have this whole brand of being real estate first. So when you think of like Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Keller Williams, and I'm not like dogging anybody, but like, what do you think of? Nothing. Like there's no like when someone says Keller Williams to you, you're like, okay, they're a real estate company. So what Robert Palmer has done is he has created LPT, which was based off of listing power tools around the whole box, which everyone calls it a box. It's actually a pack, Vega. It's a listing power pack, the pack.
There was a lot in that pack.
There was a lot in the pack. But the cool thing is that he's created this theme, this slogan of real estate first. So like, we are not a recruiting based firm. We sell real estate. Like, that is what we are going to do. We are actually the fastest growing brokerage in the country. We have over 4,000 agents in a year. We are Florida based, and then we've expanded out into other states. We just added 5 more states. But Robert keeps saying, guys, like what we want to do is we want to sell more real estate than everyone else. And I think that really goes into some of the other things we're going to talk about. Because if we're selling $500 million in real estate in a month, we only have 4,000 people. There's other companies that have thousands and thousands and thousands of agents, but what are they doing real estate wise? So just continue to touch a little bit on that visual, verbal, and value-based. I know you kind of broke it down a little bit and named 3 things. Maybe you could break those 3 things down again.
Yeah. So we can go a little bit more because there's more than 3 things, just so we don't get lost in it, because we can talk about, just each identity for hours, each one. But verbal identity, it's really that foundation, right? It's going to be your, things like that people overlook all the time. If I ask you, what's your mission statement? People look at me like, I don't have one of those, right? Well, what's your vision statement? What are your brand values, right? What are your brand pillars? What's the backstory? What's your bio? All these questions that we feel are irrelevant. It's kind of like the Karate Kid, right? Mr. Miyagi, where you're like, man, why are you making me do this? It doesn't work until it's time to fight, right? So it's the same thing. When you really lay out that foundation first, even just something as important, if you don't have a mission statement or a vision statement, at least start with your brand values. What do you represent? Because now when you go to create content or when you go to create graphics, if it doesn't tie back to those values or what you represent, you shouldn't put it out no matter how good it looks, because you're not going to be speaking to the right audience.
So brand values.
Brand values.
Like, what are yours?
So mine are transparency, right? Honesty, genuine, right? Ambitious, things like that. The easiest way to think of your brand values or when creating it is giving it your company human characteristic traits, because it's easier for us to, relate to a human than it is to a company, right? So the best way to have effective brand is to look at your business as if it was a person. If my business walked into the door right now, like, what would that person look like? It's going to be, an extrovert. He's going to be loud, maybe not super loud in a ratchet way, right?
So we can create
confident
avatars for our businesses.
Yeah, so that goes.
That's kind of cool, right?
It's called client avatars, and then there's company avatars or company personas. So there's brand personas, and then there's the client personas.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool to take a look at relating it to a human. So I think even in real estate, especially, like I said, our slogan is the experience is our job. So we want the experience to be personable. We want the experience to be pleasant. We also want the experience to be a little aggressive, while we're negotiating and going through all of that. So I do think in every business, really what I hear Vegas saying is take your company, take your product, take your service, and make it human nature, and then take those words and create that brand.
Yeah. It's like if I asked you to, if you have your best friend walks into the room right now and you're going to introduce your best friend to me, you're going to tell me all of her best traits. You're going to tell me some stories about her, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is my best friend, Jen. Jen does this. She's hilarious. She, every time we go out, she's such a great host. She takes care of me. And you should speak about your brand that same exact way, because now you're selling on the experience. Everyone focuses on selling the product rather than selling the result, right? So you yourself, you are the product. The product is going to be you selling a home. But instead of focusing on why we're the best realtor or why you should buy the home from us, you should start focusing on selling the result. So tell me why you're such a great person. Tell me the experience that I'm going to get when I'm working with you, right? And that's going to be effective marketing. It's getting someone so excited about your product or service, you don't have to sell them. They sell themselves, which is why LPT doesn't have to recruit, because everyone sees how great of a job they already do for their teams. Why not join? I sold myself on it. You didn't have to sell me on it.
Well, Vega can just recruit everyone for me because he just did a great job. If you're interested in more information, it's www.freemarketingforrealtors.com. And Vega, throw out those digits really quick before we take a commercial break.
727-810-5454.
When we return, we're going to talk about distribution of content. What do you do with all this branding and marketing? How do you generate leads? What's a good call to action? You're going to catch us after the break.
Biggest win, I think, with the dual path and having these two models is that now we become a brokerage for everyone. No matter where you are in your real estate career or what your goals are today, maybe today you're not interested in recruiting or having a team, but then one day you wake up and you are. Well, if you're at the wrong brokerage to do that, you're locked in. Where in our model, we're not holding anyone hostage. We're not tying anyone in. You can move between the different comp plans and have that success and really achieve whatever your definition of success is under one brokerage platform, being LPT.
Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinnervin, with the Sunshine State Investments team and LPT Realty. If you missed segments 1 and 2, you have to watch the replay, because we have Jose Vega with 11 Branding in the studio today, and he is giving everyone a deep dive into creating a brand and really the difference between marketing and branding. So whether you're a real estate agent, you're a team lead, you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or any catalyst and connector in the Tampa Bay community, you're not going to want to miss today. And if you did, then I feel bad for you. So you can go to our Facebook page, LPT All-Star Radio page, where we have all the YouTube links and short clips from today's show. Segment 3, as promised, we're going to talk about distribution of content. So we really walked you through creating a personal brand and the 3 V's in segment 2: visual identity, verbal identity, and value-based identity. So what we're going to talk about now is if we're spending time and money on marketing, what are we going to do with it? How are we going to distribute it? And obviously, we want it to generate leads for our business. So whether that's a set appointment, a phone call, we don't just want views. We actually want clicks that turn into profit. It used to be when you held up a pantograph, it was like, what's the point of a marketing piece? My dad used to say that. And it was to generate a phone call. Now we want a click. We want a form filled out. We want those different things. So Vega, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so we jump into the distribution is actually falls into that last V, that value-based identity, right? Once we laid out everything, now it's time to start creating the content and actually putting it out there, right? So I guess we can kind of give them a little hint with everything that's going on now with like AI and things like that. It's very easy to create content, right?
100%.
As long as you follow the guidelines that you create for yourself in that verbal identity of really what you're trying to put out and who it's for, you can go into ChatGPT or Google. No, you should know your industry first. Don't just rely on AI. But that's how you're going to get the best, is when you actually know what you're talking about and you know what the guidelines are. That's how you're going to get the best results from it. Then you can plug it in there and ask, hey, what are 100 topics most relevant to my industry right now from the perspective of, and then fill in the blank with what you created on that verbal based identity. It's going to give you 100 plus titles or video ideas, topics that you can jump in. Start filming those out. Easiest way to do it and is not worrying about, having high-end cameras or cinematography, all this stuff, because it doesn't convert. Videos, people want to see genuine. They want to see you in front of the house. If you say you sell houses, go in front of those houses that you're showing. Go in your office. Things they seem irrelevant to you. Like, I'm here all day. This is not important. It's not value. It is value. Is it value for the people that are potentially going to buy a house from you because they see, hey, this person is actually working, and then it's value for the people that potentially you're going to recruit and have on your team too, because they say maybe they're miserable at their job and what seems like nothing to you can be, a dream for them. They would want to be out there driving around on their own time, going to lunch without having to ask somebody when, showing homes, their dream homes, things like that. So it's important to just not overthink how the things are going to look, but just start creating that content so then we can move over to the distribution of it.
And I also think too that people get caught in social media in what sells, right?
Yeah.
And I think it really intimidates people. I'm a big disruptor in our market and industry, because I think, and you and I just discussed this the other day, I think there are people outside of the people that want to spend $5,000-$10,000 a month on marketing and branding. There's a lot of like small business owners and entrepreneurs that need marketing and branding as well. And I think same thing with first time home buyers. If I post, hey, look at this Lambo and look at this $4 million Airbnb I'm in, I'm totally not relatable to that client base.
Right.
So I think that you have to be careful when you distribute content. If you don't show the real life things that you're talking about, walking into your office every day, meeting with your team, you getting out of the gym, like, hey, I just wanted to give, some people a shout out or blah, 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 blah. I think that we just found this with Xavier Marrero the other day when we were talking about credit repair. Yeah. And I know that some realtors and some lenders, they discount that group of people when really in reality, like, they can fix their credit. They can get pre-approved. They can buy investment properties. They can take out loans. Like, there is a niche for all of that. So kind of talk about that a little bit, because I call it imposter syndrome. Because I think that when you showcase that on the internet and then you meet with someone in real person, you still have to be able to close in person. Yeah. So if you've created this brand, I eat lavish caviar and I have 18 cars in my garage, and someone meets you in person and you got dirty sneakers on, you didn't really live up to what you said. So talk about that. Right.
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of like you said, you can't fake the funk, and you can only do it for so long.
Right.
Social media, but when it's actually time to go out and do whatever it is that you say you do, whatever industry you're in, you have to have that knowledge. That's why I also say don't just jump to, with everyone now, watch a few videos on TikTok or jump on ChatGPT and they're like, hey, I'm an expert in this. It's like you actually have to understand the fundamentals and that foundation of your business first off. And then, like I said again, just be genuine. You're going to find your market. If you just start speaking, yes, there's a market for the people with the Lambos and stuff like that, but it's such a small market. It's so much smaller than what everybody thinks it is. But The harsh reality is entrepreneurship in general, not just real estate, but just in any industry where you're having to go out there and sell, because we sell in all industries, is entrepreneurship is not sexy. And everybody wants to make it jets and Lambos and all these different things, but the reality is it's different for every person. So you have to find, and that goes back into your verbal identity, not necessarily something you have to promote, but you have to find your why. Like, why are you building your brand? For me personally, my why is my daughter. This is my second business. I sold a multi-7-figure business because it wasn't in alignment with my why. And it took me a while to realize that. But then when I seen it, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to build a business that's relevant to me and what's important to me. Now I run my business as in reference to like what's more important to me. If it changes or affects my daughter, I won't do it as business. But that has allowed me to find a whole new market that I never even knew existed that appreciate like dadpreneurs. I know we hear mompreneurs all the time, but dadpreneurs is a thing too,
Okay, can we give a shout out to the dads? Because Vega wants to feel that. Yeah. I'm stealing the entrepreneurship is not sexy quote for sure, because it's not. It's like, it's a grind for real, And like yesterday was Memorial Day. And I remember talking to you and you're like, hey, I'm going to go do this and this and this. Where a lot of people, that do the 9-to-5 thing, it's like they weren't working yesterday. They weren't working Friday. Also, when we have a crisis in our life, I feel like as an entrepreneur, business doesn't stop because your kid's in the hospital or you have a funeral or a death in your family. You're responsible and people rely on you and your company relies on you. But I think the coolest part about it is when you said, the distribution of social media, just kind of you identifying who your target market is. And then I also think setting attainable goals. Like, I'll get real estate agents that join my team and I'll say, hey, what do you want to do? And they're like, oh, I want to do investments, or, oh, I want to do luxury. And I'm like, have you sold any properties at all? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, what makes you qualified to do that?
Exactly.
And some people love that about me and then they hate it as well. But I also want to set them up to be successful. And so I had built all these buildings before I got here in 2015, and I had to hit the streets in residential real estate, and I did it for a reason. Not because I wanted to sell single family homes, not because I felt like I was going to like it, but if I was in my car driving these neighborhoods, I could learn this market. Then I could figure out, okay, where are the pockets at? Where do we need investments? What blocks are really beautiful and 2 blocks over horrible? So I know we're in an innovation district, etc. So I had to do some things that were uncomfortable to grow in that situation. But what I also realized too is that it's super cool. Like, we're doing this first time homebuyer class and I can maximize and put 90 potential prospects in one room. Yeah. And maybe those are lower price point customers, but there's 90 of them. So just like you said, the small potential with the Lambos and this and that. I love the luxury market. Everyone knows I'm like the investment queen. But I also think really just taking your why, who you are, finding those words that describe you and your company, and then going after those niche markets, you will find so much more happiness and peace in your industry.
Yeah, and kind of just to bring it back so we don't get off to what the distribution of it. It's like finding out all of this stuff that we spoke about is what's most important first, so you can understand the niche, right? You never want to be a general practice doctor, right? God forbid, somebody needs, heart surgery. They're not going to want to go to a regular ER doctor, right? They're going to want to go to the top cardiologist in the world. So look at your brand exactly like that. You want to be a specialist. You want to be the top. That doesn't mean you can't speak to everyone else. That just means when that specific person comes around, when that specific person needs a heart, you're the cardiologist. You know what I'm saying?
You're the one.
And then just to bring it back to the distribution of the content. Now, after you know exactly who you're talking to, you're niching it, now it's time to start putting it out. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it now. Instagram is the hub. Everyone talks about TikTok and they talk about, YouTube's been around as a giant forever, but Instagram is that main hub that it's the easiest for you to start building off, in my personal opinion. It's easy to go viral on a TikTok, but Instagram, it's something we look up instantly. You're going to meet somebody at a bar right now. They're like, hey, I'm this hot shot.
I don't like Instagram.
I love it.
I don't.
I treat it like
it's
my
okay.
resume.
I agree with Vega. I agree. And what we're going to do as promised, since we didn't go deep into distribution in segment 3, since we do have to take a break, we're going to continue talking about distribution in segment 4. So I'll have Vega break down the platforms that you should be posting on, what content you should post specifically just before, because we do have to take a commercial break. So again, we did kind of talk about a little bit of creating that brand and we jumped back into it a little bit, but Vega will break down in segment 4. So you're not going to want to miss this, where you should post, how you should post, and we'll talk a little bit about length of video because I think that's important. And then in segment 4, he'll still also go over consistency and building a brand for longevity.
Yes.
So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, Jose Vega, 11 Branding, what are those digits?
They can reach us at 727-810-5454.
And if you're interested in free marketing for realtors or you want to know more about LPT, you can visit freemarketingforrealtors.com or contact me at 813-609-0229. We'll catch you after the break. Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. You have not gotten rid of me yet. Betsy Tinervin, I am your host with the Sunshine State Investments team and LPT Realty. If you missed segments 1, 2, or 3 today, you have to look for the replay. We are going to have a full audio clip on YouTube. You can go to the LPT All-Star Radio Show Facebook page. Or if you're interested or a Catalyst and Connector in the Tampa Bay community and you'd like to be on the show, you can reach out to me at 813-609-0229. Today we have Jose Vega here with 11 Branding, and we have gone through some amazing marketing and branding tips and tricks for small businesses, entrepreneurs, and of course, real estate agents. We want to hit all of our realtors today with a bunch of nuggets on what they can do to create a personal brand, generate leads, and distribute the content that they do create. So again, I think that what makes Jose Vega different is not only are they working with over $50 million in brands, but they focus on that storytelling marketing. They focus on helping you figure out point A to point B to point Z so you can really create content that then makes your business more profitable and showcases who you are. So we did discuss in segment 2 the 3 V's, the visual identity, verbal identity, and value-based identity. And in segment 3, we touched a little bit on the distribution of content, but we want to dive deep with Vega right now and give you all of those gems. He kind of touched a little bit on Instagram.
Yeah.
You like Instagram. It's the hub.
Yes.
So what should they or should they not be putting on Instagram?
So Instagram, you need to look at it as if it's your resume, right? What shouldn't you be putting? You need to decide right now if your personal Instagram is your personal, then keep it your personal and not try to make it your business, right? Because no one cares if they're trying to buy a house from you what you ate last night. They don't care about the restaurants or the trips or things like that. So that's one of the easiest ways that you're wasting your Instagram is the highlights, right? I should be able to land on your page, and if I've never met you, within the first minute or 2 of me being there, I should be able to answer those questions. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you do it for? So that bio needs to hook me, and then the next thing I see is those highlights, rather than wasting them on like, hey, these are my trips or these are my dinners that I've had over the last few years. They need to be like mini commercials. Start thinking of like, how can I, in small, very easy to consume pieces of content, so 15 to 30-second videos, how can I explain different things like, hey, are you a first-time homeowner? Have a homeowner or a buy button, and they can get a quick intro to who you are, what kind of properties you deal with, so they can say, well, maybe she's the right person for me. Again, if I'm looking to sell, there should be a little sell button, a little mini commercial pretty much within 15, 30-second videos explaining that. Then just move over to what's actually posted on the feed. The photos are important, yes, but Instagram is video now. They're all trying to compete with the wave that TikTok had. So now it's like, how do I start creating content that is valuable to my audience through video? Short. Get to the point. How do you hook me? How many
seconds is an ideal video clip?
An ideal video clip? Well, ideal, or what everybody always wonders is how many seconds is the best chance of going viral, right?
How many seconds is like an ideal video clip?
7 to 30 seconds max.
And here's what I will tell everyone out there that I know content-wise is that's when you see who the experts are. Because if someone can answer a question in 7 or 30 to 30 seconds, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
If someone can answer a question and provide value in 30 seconds, I would give them a little bit. I would say max is 45 seconds. But what I've been tracking as well is what people don't understand is views is not always what beats the algorithm. It's also how long people are watching your videos.
Yeah.
So if you put things on YouTube, for instance, and someone's clicking on it and you get a view, that's great. If you also go to like the insights on a Facebook reel, it'll tell you all of these different things. Someone clicking on your reel is not doing it super justice. But like if you have a 30-second reel and the average watch time is 25 seconds, people like your content.
Yeah.
Disagree or agree?
No, I definitely agree.
I know a little bit.
So, and another thing to think about it too is we're trying to give them everything up front. Like everyone's just trying to talk and just have like the curse of knowledge. They want you to know that they're an expert and they want to say everything in one video. The idea with these short format videos, so the IG Reels, the TikToks, the YouTube Shorts, all of them, it's just enough to hook them. And then you can funnel them. You want to hook them and have a call to action, which leads them either to a link in your bio, leads them to your YouTube, leads them to a call to action. Maybe it's like a link tree or something, so that way the ball doesn't stay in their court. The ball goes back to you. You know, you can lead them somewhere where you're going to be able to get their information back. You want to lead them to a squeeze page or get their email somehow. Give them some type of call to action. So a short video doesn't even have to explain, have all the context behind it. It could just be a quick thought, which leaves them like, well, wait, what did Betsy mean by that? And make them want to click on your page, look at more content, and kind of fall into that rabbit hole of who this person is and then buy into you before they actually get the chance to talk to you.
I also think instant gratification is important, right? So a lot of times you'll see a Facebook ad. And let's just admit it, when you see that blanket that you put over your whole body and it's the cozy blanket, you click it, bro. Like I just clicked one earlier. I'm like, I want to see what the cozy blanket does. So when you click the ad, what you also have to remember too is convenience for people. People that are working 9-to-5 jobs, they're clicking ads, they're looking at reels, they're looking at it at 12 o'clock on their lunch break. Yeah. They're looking at it when they get off work or when their kids are in bed. If that form that they have to fill out to obtain something has 50 questions, they're not doing it.
No, it needs to be short, quick, to
name, email, that's it. Like gather their information. That's when I really love what you said earlier is you can produce all of this content, but you also have to be good at face-to-face sales because now you've gathered this person's information and you have to make a phone call. And you have to close them.
What I tell everyone is stop focusing on becoming an influencer. That's the problem. Everybody wants to put so much content out and they're just not paying attention what their audience wants because they're trying to be an influencer. All social media is the expedited process to in-person credibility. They want to be popping online because they want to be popping in person, right?
Wait, say that again. Just break it down for them.
Social media is the most effective entrepreneurs. They use social media as the expedited process to in-person credibility.
I love that.
I use my social media to build my credibility so that when you meet me in person or you see me or I get the opportunities to speak on larger stages, then I'm able to, a little bit of who I am. I'm able to then just show you all of that, the credibility that I built online. I'm able to show you in person why I have that, my knowledge. This is what you need to do, so forth.
Well, I am definitely not going to beat your head up, but I have given you several compliments over the last week.
Thank you.
I have loved marketing. It's a passion. I was a dance theater major in college. Jen and I are opening up this marketing center now. And a lot of the people that I meet marketing wise, it's like they do it just for like the financial piece. They don't have like all of those things that you break down. I literally have met with like hundreds of marketers, especially since I've been in Tampa, and not one has ever said some of those things that you've said. I've had marketers on the show, actually, branders, social media people, especially people that use real estate. And they think it's all about doing the listing photos. They think it's about the video of the house. It's not, because that agent needs to be showcased. That personality needs to be showcased. So when you break down personality and brand and entrepreneurship not being sexy and just all of those little things that you say, it is really like incredible because you just don't hear that. And so today in the interview, like I'm the customer, and I brought you to the marketing center and asked for your insight. And just so everyone knows, Disruptive Marketing is going to be opening. We are going to be using 11 branding. We are going to be funneling, especially all the people that want bigger brands to them. We really believe in their process. We think it's amazing. They are this great small boutique company that does create an experience for everyone out there. If you're a real estate agent, you should definitely check them out. They have small packages, large packages, and the amount of knowledge they can teach you about branding yourself is just infamous. So I want to give you time for final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts. I kind of just want to give them things that they can implement.
Knock it out.
Yeah, so we kind of talked about really quickly Instagram being that hub, right? But when you distribute that content can go on every platform. Just because I say Instagram is hub, you need to be everywhere where your audience is. But what you need to understand is the last thing that you need to do is when everyone goes, they post it on one platform and then they download it with the platform's tag on it. So it either says TikTok on the corner and then they upload it to YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram with the TikTok badge. the algorithm's going to hate it because you're promoting another platform. Save the video, and on each platform, even though you're uploading the same video, maybe change your captions, change, what you put in there, or change the captions on the actual video, change the cover, change the title, things like that on each platform. Another one for realtors that you really need to focus on is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the professional's Facebook. And they're a distribution platform for content now. A lot of people don't know that because everybody's using it as just a resume. Like, hey, here's my accolades. Here's the companies that I've worked with, so forth. Start putting the content that you're putting on Instagram and on YouTube and everywhere else, start putting it on LinkedIn and watch the quality leads that you get there, because those are the decision makers in companies, and no one is positioning themselves as an authority on LinkedIn. So put it in every platform. Make sure you upload it separately so you're not promoting, cross-promoting on them. And then leverage the platforms that are most relevant to the audience that you're trying to reach for. For real estate, I think heavily it's underutilized is going to be LinkedIn.
And if anyone wants a consultation with you, can you give them your website, your phone number, all that good stuff?
Yes. So the website is 11branding.com. It's the number 11, 11branding.com. The cell phone number is 727-810-5454. Again, that number is 727-810-5454. And I am always on my Instagram. I know Betsy doesn't like the Instagram too much, but the Instagram is Visionary Vega. And if you send me a DM on there, or anyone that sends me a DM with the word brand, we'll make sure to reach out to you instantly and start putting a plan in place that you can start implementing without having to come out of pocket at all. One of the biggest things that I see a lot of our competitors or just people in the brand space do is they're always focusing on how can we get $1 up front, because they have to hold on to their information. We give a lot of value up front.
Okay, we had a great time with Vega today. We are unfortunately out of time, and we will bring Vega back, but we will unfortunately today have to catch you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast, powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined. We hope this episode motivated and inspired you. And don't forget to rate and review us. Thanks again for listening to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast with Betsy Tinnervin.